This private visit, which received no media coverage at the time, became one of the most talked about examples of genuine royal compassion. Hospital staff members shared the story with colleagues, and word spread throughout the medical community about the extraordinary kindness William and Catherine had shown. The royal couple had demonstrated that true nobility comes from caring about others, especially those who are struggling. Emma grew up to become a children's nurse, inspired by both her own experience as a patient and the compassion she witnessed that magical day. She often tells her young patients about the time a real prince and princess visited her hospital room, reminding them that there are always people who care and that hope can appear when you least expect it. The story continues to inspire families facing similar challenges, proving that sometimes the most powerful royal moments happen away from cameras, in quiet hospital rooms where love and kindness work their own special magic. 6 months later, Emma was in remission and strong enough to accept her invitation to Kensington Palace. When she arrived with her parents, Catherine greeted them like old friends, remembering every detail of their previous conversation. Emma wore her best dress and felt like the princess she had always dreamed of becoming. They had tea in the beautiful gardens, and Emma met some of the royal horses she had heard so much about. The tea party was everything Emma had imagined and more. Catherine had arranged for several other children from the hospital who had recovered to join them, creating a celebration of healing and hope. William surprised them all by arriving in his helicopter, giving the children the ride of their lives over London. As they flew over the city, Emma looked down at the world below and realized that dreams really do come true. The impact of their visit extended far beyond that single day. Emma's spirits soared, and her medical team noticed improvements in her appetite and energy levels. The other children talked excitedly about their royal visitors for weeks, creating artwork and writing thank you letters. The hospital staff was amazed by the positive atmosphere that seemed to linger long after William and Catherine had left. True to their promises, the royal couple followed up on every commitment they had made. Paralympic athletes visited Marcus, inspiring him to begin training again. James received his signed pilot's helmet and a personal video message. Emma's invitation to Kensington Palace arrived beautifully calligraphed, giving her something wonderful to look forward to as she continued her treatment and recovery journey. As their visit was drawing to a close, Catherine returned to Emma's room one final time. She had noticed Emma drawing pictures of castles and princesses throughout their earlier conversation. The princess surprised Emma by presenting her with a personalized book of photographs from various royal palaces, along with a handwritten note promising that when Emma got better, she would be invited for a special tea party at Kensington Palace. Emma's mother Sarah began crying, overwhelmed by the kindness and genuine care these remarkable people had shown her daughter. Catherine gently hugged Sarah, understanding completely the fear and pain of a mother watching her child suffer. William placed a comforting hand on David's shoulder, and for a moment, they were simply two fathers sharing an understanding that transcended royal titles and social differences. The most touching moment came when they visited the room of 10-year-old Marcus, who had lost his leg to bone cancer, but remained determined to become a Paralympic athlete. When William heard about Marcus's dreams, he immediately called his personal aide and arranged for several Paralympic champions to visit the hospital the following week. Catherine was moved to tears seeing Marcus's determination, telling him that he was already a champion in her eyes. The royal couple then surprised everyone by spending time with the parents and siblings who were also struggling with their loved ones' illnesses. They understood that families needed support too, offering words of encouragement and sharing stories of resilience and hope. Many parents later said that this conversation gave them strength during their darkest moments, knowing that people cared about their entire family's journey. Word spread quietly through the ward that special visitors had arrived. William and Catherine spent the next 3 hours moving from room to room, giving each child their complete attention. They met 5-year-old James, who was obsessed with becoming a pilot, and Catherine promised to arrange for him to meet one of the royal helicopter pilots. William spent 20 minutes with 12-year-old Aisha, discussing her passion for football and promising to send her a signed jersey from his favorite team. What struck everyone was how the royal couple remembered every child's name and interests throughout their visit. They didn't just shake hands and move on. They sat down, made eye contact, and created genuine connections with each young patient. The nurses and doctors watched in wonder as children who had been withdrawn and scared began laughing and sharing their dreams with these kind strangers who happened to be royalty. When Catherine quietly entered Emma's room, the little girl's eyes widened in complete disbelief. Here was a real princess, just like in her favorite stories, standing right beside her hospital bed. Catherine sat down gently and took Emma's small hand in hers, speaking in the softest, kindest voice. She told Emma that she had heard about her incredible bravery and wanted to meet the strongest princess in all of England. Emma's parents watched in amazement as their daughter, who had barely spoken in days, began chatting excitedly with Catherine about princesses, castles, and her dreams of visiting Buckingham Palace someday. William joined them, kneeling beside the bed and listening intently to Emma's stories about her toy horses and her wish to see real royal horses. The authenticity of their interest and the genuine warmth they showed transformed the sterile hospital room into something magical. Catherine had been deeply moved by letters from families at the hospital, particularly one from Emma's mother describing her daughter's love for royal stories. The princess had spent weeks planning this private visit, working with the hospital to ensure it would bring joy rather than disruption. William supported his wife's heartfelt desire to connect with these brave children, remembering his own mother's compassionate hospital visits years earlier. They arrived through a back entrance, dressed simply and carrying bags filled with personally chosen gifts. Catherine wore a soft blue dress that Emma's mother had mentioned in her letter was her daughter's favorite color. William carried a collection of books about brave princesses and kind princes, stories he hoped would bring smiles to young faces. Neither of them anticipated the profound impact this day would have on everyone present. The morning sun was shining through the windows of Birmingham Children's Hospital, but inside the cancer ward everything felt dark and sad. 8-year-old Emma Wilson lay in her small hospital bed, looking very weak and tired. She had been fighting a serious illness called leukemia for almost 2 years now. The doctors and nurses tried their best to help her, but Emma was getting sicker each day. Emma's mother, Sarah, sat in the uncomfortable chair next to her daughter's bed. She had not left Emma's side for 3 days. Sarah's eyes were red from crying, and she looked exhausted. Emma's father, David, stood by the window staring outside, but not really seeing anything. Both parents were trying very hard to stay strong for their little girl, but inside their hearts were breaking into pieces. Emma was a very special little girl who loved stories about princesses and magical kingdoms. Even when she felt very sick, she would ask her mother to tell her stories about real princesses who lived in beautiful castles. Sarah would make up wonderful tales about brave princesses who helped people and lived happily ever after. These stories were the only things that could make Emma smile these days. The little girl's favorite color was blue, like the sky on a perfect day. She had a small stuffed rabbit that she carried everywhere, and she dreamed about meeting a real princess someday. Emma often told her parents that when she got better she wanted to visit a real castle and see how princesses really lived. Sarah would smile and promise that someday they would make that dream come true. What nobody in that hospital room knew was that this ordinary Tuesday morning would become the most amazing day of their entire lives. Down the hallway, the hospital director, Dr. Matthews, was walking quickly toward the children's ward. He looked nervous and excited at the same time. In his pocket was a phone that had been ringing all morning with very important calls. 3 weeks earlier, Dr. Matthews had received a letter that changed everything. The letter came from Kensington Palace, and it was signed by someone very special. The letter said that Prince William and his wife Catherine wanted to visit the children's hospital, but they wanted to keep it completely secret. They did not want any newspaper reporters or television cameras. They just wanted to spend time with sick children and make them happy. Dr. Matthews had told only 5 people about this special visit. The head nurse, Mrs. Johnson, knew about it, and so did 3 other doctors. They had all promised to keep the secret until the very last moment. Even the other nurses and hospital workers did not know what was about to happen. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, had been reading letters from families at different hospitals around England. One letter had touched her heart more than all the others. It was from Emma's mother, Sarah, describing how much her daughter loved hearing stories about real princesses. Sarah had written about Emma's dreams and hopes, and how the little girl stayed brave even when she felt very scared. The princess had shown the letter to her husband, Prince William, and they both decided they needed to do something special. They wanted to bring some happiness to Emma and all the other sick children at the hospital, so they made a plan to visit without telling anyone beforehand. That Tuesday morning, Prince William and Catherine were driving in a simple black car toward the hospital. They were not wearing fancy clothes or jewels. Catherine wore a soft blue dress because she remembered that Emma's mother had written that blue was her daughter's favorite color. William wore a dark suit, and both of them looked like regular people instead of royal family members. In the back seat of their car were several bags filled with gifts they had chosen very carefully. There were books about brave princesses and kind princes. There were soft toys and games and special treats for all the children. Catherine had spent hours picking out each gift because she wanted every child to feel special and loved. As their car pulled into the back entrance of the hospital, Dr. Matthews was walking toward Emma's room. He was about to tell the family that some very special visitors were coming to see them. Emma was sleeping peacefully, holding her stuffed rabbit. Sarah was still sitting in the chair looking very tired, and David was still standing by the window. None of them had any idea that in just a few minutes their whole world was about to change forever. The most famous prince and princess in all of England were about to walk through their door and make Emma's biggest dream come true. This ordinary Tuesday morning was about to become the most extraordinary day any of them had ever experienced. But Kate was not finished with her surprises. She asked each child in the ward to write her a letter about their dreams for the future. She promised to read every letter personally and to write back to each child individually. Kate explained that she wanted to know more about their hopes, their interests, and their plans for when they got better and left the hospital. She said that their dreams were important and that she wanted to help encourage them in whatever small way she could. The hospital staff were amazed by Kate's promises. They had hosted many celebrity visits over the years, and most famous visitors made polite conversation and then left without any follow-up contact. Kate was promising ongoing relationships with these children. Prince William added his own promise to Kate's commitments. He told Tommy that he would try to arrange for Tommy to correspond with a real astronomer who could answer his questions about space, and maybe even help him use professional equipment to look at stars and planets. As the royal visit finally came to an end, the children lined up to say goodbye to William and Kate. Each child received a personal hug and a few private words of encouragement. Emma held onto Kate's hand and made her promise 3 more times that she would really come back for her birthday. The adults in the room, including parents, hospital staff, and security personnel, were all deeply moved by what they had witnessed that day. This had not been a typical royal visit with formal speeches and photo opportunities. This had been something much more personal and meaningful. After William and Kate left the hospital, the children could not stop talking about their visit. The ward stayed lively and excited for hours as the children shared their favorite moments and talked about the letters they were going to write. But many people wondered if Kate would really keep her promises. Would she actually return for Emma's birthday? Would she really write personal letters to sick children? Or would the demands of royal life make her forget about the promises she had made in an emotional moment? 1 month later, on April 15th, those questions were answered. Kate arrived at the hospital carrying a homemade birthday cake and personally wrapped gifts for Emma. But she had not come alone, and she had not come empty-handed. Prince William was with her again, and they brought something that amazed everyone. Kate had personally responded to every single letter that the children had written to her. Each child received an individual letter from Kate, along with a small gift that was specifically chosen based on what that child had written about in their letter. Sophie received a complete set of art supplies and information about online art classes that she could take from her hospital vet. Tommy got a small telescope and a letter from a professional astronomer who wanted to become Tommy's pen pal and mentor. Marcus received books about friendship and a CD of children's songs that Kate thought he might enjoy. Emma's birthday party was attended by all the children who were still in the hospital, plus several who had been discharged but came back just for the celebration. The hospital staff provided extra cake and decorations, and the whole ward was transformed into a festive party space. But the most amazing part of Kate's return visit was not the gifts or the party. It was the fact that she had kept her word. In a world where many promises are broken and forgotten, Kate had remembered every commitment she had made to these children. The hospital staff realized that this was not about publicity or royal obligations. This was about genuine human connection and the power of keeping promises to people who matter. 6 months after that first unexpected visit, the effects of Prince William and Kate's time at St. Mary's Children's Hospital were still being felt throughout the building. The changes that had started on that March Tuesday had grown and spread in ways that no one could have predicted. Emma Thompson's hair had indeed grown back, just as Kate had promised it would. Emma wore her new hair in the same gentle waves that Kate favored, and she often told people about her friend the princess, who had taught her that beauty comes from the heart. Emma had become one of the most positive and encouraging patients in the hospital, always ready to welcome new children and help them feel less scared. Emma had also started a tradition of writing letters to other sick children in hospitals around the country. She remembered how much Kate's letters had meant to her, and she wanted to pass on that same feeling of being remembered and cared about to other children who were fighting their own battles with illness.